Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone had a good lunch, and hopefully you're not all slipping into a food coma right now. I'm honored to be here at RubyConf Thailand, giving my first ever conference talk, from 9 to 5 to pull requests, sustainable open source contribution. So the target audience for this talk is really newer developers who are looking at getting into open source or contributing to open source. But also developers of all backgrounds who want to get more comfortable with regular contributions and maybe moving into helping maintain certain projects. A quick intro, my name is Joshua Young. You can call me Josh. You can find me on GitHub and Blue Sky by my handle, JoshuaY03. That's my profile picture everywhere, my avatar. I'm a senior software engineer at BuildKite. I'm a regular open source contributor to various libraries in the Ruby ecosystem. I help maintain Rails as a member of the issues team, and I'm also a co-maintainer of Puma and concurrent Ruby. And more recently, I've been helping as a volunteer on call with rubygems.org. The interesting thing is, when I submitted my talk to the CFP, I only had the first 2 lines on my slide. I'd been contributing quite regularly, but I hadn't really been invited to maintain any of these projects. So all of that happened in the last 6 months. So I'm glad I've got some credibility to back my talk up today. A quick note about my employer, BuildKite. So BuildKite's a CI/CD system. Think competitor to GitHub Actions, Circle CI, if you haven't heard of us. It's a lot faster, a lot more scalable. I'm not biased at all. But yeah, we've got some pretty big customers like Shopify, Uber, Airbnb, Canva. And thank you to BuildKite for sponsoring my ticket and my time here at the conference. So I'm pretty sure most of us know what I'm talking about when I say open source, but just to be super explicit about it, open source to me is code that's publicly available, modifiable, and shareable with permissive licenses. So licenses in the open source world can get pretty extensive and complex, but here I'm just talking about gems, libraries, any sort of code that is publicly viewable, usually hosted on GitHub in the Ruby ecosystem, that we as individuals can go contribute to, can go modify, and share, and we're free to share and use in any way we want. Some very simple examples in the Ruby ecosystem: Rails, Puma, RSpec, Devise, all gems that we're familiar with. And what I mean when I say contributing is sending pull requests to these libraries, to these repositories for bug fixes, documentation, introducing new features, but also helping out with issue triage, which is something that maintainers usually appreciate, and also reviewing code from other contributors. So why contribute to open source? You get to learn from the best. You get code reviews from experienced developers. If you take Rails, for example, most of the Rails core team are very experienced, very senior engineers who work at these big corporations, big companies, big engineering teams. And to me, like sending pull requests that get reviewed by these people, I learn a lot from all that feedback and those iterations. You get to understand design decisions and trade-offs in these mature, community-driven code bases. Usually, library code is very different to the application code we write every day, so you get to learn a lot from that. And you get to see how the libraries you use in production work. Usually, we're only familiar with our applications. We don't really think about all the layers between a request coming into our Rails app and a response going out. So it's good to be familiar with all of those processes. I also like this quote from John Bouzier, or Beirut, who is a Rails core team member and a Ruby committer. This was from a recent On Rails podcast, but he said, your gems, your dependencies are your code too. When you gem install something, you're still running this code in production. If it doesn't work, it's your responsibility. And this is something I agree with as well. Another reason to contribute is to build your portfolio and network. With open source, everything's public. With all your contributions, they're all public proof of your skills and your ability to solve problems, to collaborate with other people that you don't work with. You get to connect with maintainers and contributors worldwide at conferences like this. And you get to build relationships beyond your workplace bubble, network, find job opportunities through collaboration. This is probably my favorite reason. You get to give back and you get to grow as an engineer. You get to support the tools that power your daily work. All of us probably use Ruby. That's been open source for 25 years now. We've got this free, awesome language that we've got to build our careers with, earn money with, have fun programming with. So it's good to support all of these tools that we all get to use for free in our day-to-day lives. You get to explore new technologies outside of your job's constraints, and learn patterns and approaches you can't at work. Again, library code, gem code is not what you'd usually write when you're writing your applications. So it's good to dabble with those from time to time. Sort of tangentially related, but I've watched a few talks before on open source, not just with Ruby, just in the software world. And usually it focuses on maintainership and funding and sort of that aspect of it. But I think we forget a lot that all of these projects really depend on contributors and having regular contributions. This screenshot is from a site, contributors.rubyonrails.org. It's basically a list of of all contributions that have come to Rails ever, scraped from GitHub. And you'll see it says there 7,102 people over the last, 20-ish years that Rails has ever existed. So I think that's pretty cool to see all of these people who have contributed. You'll find people with a single contribution from like 15, 20 years ago. And even that's probably sitting around in the Rails code today, running in all of your servers. And I think that's pretty cool that those contributions have basically built Rails to be what it is today. So around late 2022, I was sort of a few months into my first job as a software engineer out of university, and I had this urge to sort of this lots of energy to like do something outside of work. And I thought about contributing to open source, and I wanted to give back myself. But I didn't know where to start. Like, I didn't know which project to pick. Like, how do you even do this? Do you just pick a gem and do you just go open a PR? Like, how does it work? I didn't know what good looked like. Like, did it have to be perfect? And spare time felt unpredictable. Like, most of us work full-time jobs, and I didn't know how much commitment and effort was required to contribute to open source. So these are a few lessons that I've learned over the years contributing regularly to open source projects. So if you're looking to get started, some of the usual advice you'll get, depending on where you ask, this is what I've seen on Reddit usually, is just dive into the code base. Like, don't think about it. Just pick a repository and just go read the code. Just pick a good first issue. Just go to the issues list, start reading issues, and just grab one that feels good to you, and just go fix it. And contribute to something popular is one that I've seen a lot. Like, sort of like contributing to open source for the, just to say that you've done it, that you've contributed to this large project. And I think this fails for a couple of reasons. One, because you have no context. You're just diving into something just because. You've got no motivation. You've got no reason to fix this random issue you've found other than for the sake of fixing it. And you've got no stake in the outcome. Like, sure, you'll fix an issue, you'll ship it. But again, like, you personally don't gain anything out of it. And for your first contribution, I have a few opinions on why you should. So what I usually tell people is your pain points in your day-to-day work are really your contribution opportunities. All of us have read documentation that just confuses us, whether it's Rails or any other gem. We've all run into error messages that were unclear. We've all had to work around bugs that we've monkey patched in our applications, and those monkey patches are just sitting there a couple of years later, a couple of upgrades later. And features that we wish existed. These are all things that we all run into at work. And instead of like glossing over documentation that confuses you and just say, oh no, this is confusing, let me ask ChatGPT or whatever, these are good opportunities to take the time to make your first contribution if that's what you're looking to do. Also, start super simple. This isn't a technical talk, but I felt like I had to mention the bundle open command. It's still surprising to me how, yay. It's quite surprising to me how long Ruby engineers can go without learning about this. But essentially, you do bundle open gem name inside your Ruby project, and bundler is going to go look up the gem path for that gem and open it up in your editor of choice. So whenever you run into an issue with a gem or something like that, before even thinking about forking the gems repository and contributing, just go look at the code. Like, go look at the code. It's right there. You're gonna see the code that's actually running with your application, and it's all just Ruby. And just print everything. Be a puts debugging developer, and just figure out what's going on. Read the code. So despite all of my advice, I kind of realized these couple of months, couple of years too late. So this screenshot is from my first ever real open source contribution, which was to Rails around late 2022. I was just looking for something to fix. I went into the issues list, and I saw this one, which this is the pull request, but the issue itself had a pretty decent reproduction. And I read it and I understood it, and I thought, okay, cool, I get this. I know what polymorphic associations are. This reproduction script clearly shows a bug, and I'm just going to go fix it. Again, no context, never dived into the Rails code base before. It was just an issue that I thought I was going to fix. At the time, for some reason, I thought it would be super easy. It took me like a month, and the pull request ended up being like 60 lines of code, which is not a lot because most of it was a test. But yeah, I made the mistake, and this is why I'm sharing the lessons with you about why not to do this, because cool, I had no context, no motivation. It got merged. It felt good that it got merged, but I didn't really feel like I gained anything out of it. I made my first contribution, but that was pretty much it. These days, when I send a pull request to Rails, this is sort of what it looks like. So this is one I made on behalf of work. Here I have context. I know what it's an issue we ran into in our Rails monolith at BuildKite. I have the context. I know what went wrong. I know what happened in the context of our application, in the context of Rails. I opened an issue and I sent a fix. I had the motivation because I needed to get this fixed to be able to upgrade Rails in our monolith. And there's like a satisfaction that comes out of it when it gets merged, and then I can fix the issue back at work. So this to me is like a better sort of class of contribution where you have a reason for it, you have the context for it, you have the motivation for it, and it just makes for a better contribution. So how do you be a good contributor? What makes a good contributor? This is something I find to be pretty important when it comes to helping out with issues. If you do go down the road of just picking an issue because you don't really have anything at work or in your project that needs fixing, don't claim issues. If you find an issue that's kind of been open for a while, the authors opened it, there's good reproduction steps, but no one's really tackled it, a maintainer hasn't said anything about it, first check in and see if anyone's going to tackle it, anyone's going to fix it. Even if you decide to take on the task, don't sort of claim the issue as your own and make promises that you might not be able to keep. It's very common in open source world to go look at an issue and it's been reported and someone said, yeah, I got this, I'm going to fix it. And then you come back like 3 months later and no reply. And then someone, hard reacts that comment is like, hey, just checking in, are you actually fixing this? And it's like, no reply. So don't do that. And if you do fix it and you get a fix up, don't claim that you have the fix, just a fix, because that might encourage people to go point their gems at your fork and use your fix. Make sure you're able to replicate the issue first if you're not the author of the issue. And this is something I try to do quite often, is sometimes people will open the issue, they'll write a reproduction script, but they'll also point towards where they think the fix is. And that sort of helps me with getting a fix up. So I'll always consider adding the issue reporter as a co-author on your commit, which I think is a nice thing to do because you sort of like paired on the problem. Another thing when you're contributing or when you're getting started, make sure you read the instructions. So most of these open source libraries on GitHub, for example, they've got a contributing section in the README, or the bigger projects like Rails and Puma, they've got a separate contribution guide. Make sure you go read that because it'll have instructions on how the maintainers like to do things, how they like to receive pull requests, and how to get set up with your development environment and stuff like that. So this is an example from the Puma repo. It's got some instructions there about, it's got some examples actually about common setups, common issues and pull request patterns. And this one's from Rails. Rails actually has this in the repo, and they've also got a separate guide, which includes some templates for creating reproduction scripts for all the sub libraries of Rails, like active support and active record. And as usual, like you would at work, follow good development practices. Like this should be pretty obvious, but make sure you're consistent when you're making contributions to public projects. Again, try to replicate the issue properly. Make sure you understand the relevant code that you're touching. Always create a failing test first. If you've got a good reproduction script, you shouldn't be far off from being able to write a failing test. Get AI to help you if you need it. And yeah, then you just fix it. I can't really help you with this part. Like, this is what we do for a living. So you got to fail in tests, go dive through the code, make sure you follow conventions, styles, patterns, leave the code in a better place, in a better state than how you found it. Try not to do any extra work, any unnecessary refactoring while you're in there. Keep your fixes narrowly scoped. And yeah, submit your PR, write a good description. And then if this is something that you're trying to fix because you ran into it during an upgrade or something, you'd usually monkey patch it in your application, maybe leaving a comment saying, hey, we can remove this when it's merged into the library and released or whatever. I feel like I have to mention this in this current day and age. If you're using AI for any of this, be very explicit about how you're using it. So open source maintainers already have to deal with manually written low quality issue reports like, hey, something's broken, please help. And lots of, I've seen a lot of AI hallucinated issues where they'll just run into an issue, throw an AI at it, it'll spit out a description or a report, and they'll just come and open it, and like none of it makes sense. And I've seen a lot of overly verbose AI-generated pull requests, you know, the usual 20 lines of comments for a 3-line test and stuff like that. So this is stuff that maintainers have to deal with on a daily basis. If you're using AI, be clear about why you used it. If you didn't understand a certain aspect of the code or whatever, that's fine. Just make sure you mention that in the issue. Which parts that you used it for, so if it was just the replication script or just your tests, be very explicit about that. So that the maintainer knows what you understand and what they can question you about. Versus what they need to pay a lot of attention to. This is something that I practice with every issue I open. Try to always send a fix with your issue reports. This will depend on how confident you are that your issue needs fixing, that it's actually a bug. But usually you can tell, like if something's clearly wrong with how something's supposed to be behaving and it isn't. Open an issue, make sure it's good, make sure you've got a good replication script, but also send the fix at the same time. This reduces the time to get in a fix merge to your first review. And it also creates a good space for actionable discussions. You're not just going back and forth about theoretical stuff in the issue itself. It also reduces the chances of issues going stale in bigger projects like Rails. So when maintainers see that a fix has come through, as opposed to just an issue, they'll go, okay, this is, like I can review the code now and tell you if it's good or not. So finding the balance with all of this is important. Again, all of these contributions, all of this maintenance is what I do outside of my regular job in my spare time. And sometimes, like the pull request I showed you, I do on behalf of work. But these are some things to keep in mind if you want to contribute in your spare time. It took me embarrassingly long to realize this, but when it comes to open source, there are no deadlines. These projects aren't businesses; they're not making money usually. Asterisks. So there are no deadlines, no requirements, no sprints. You don't need to be constantly available. Contribute when you can. You don't need to really commit to anything. If you want to become a regular contributor, just make sure that when you do show up, you are consistent, you bring quality with your work. And if you do commit to something, if you do end up claiming an issue, if you do think, okay, I want to invest my time and help fix this, please make sure you follow through, because people might be watching and waiting. If it's a bug that was in a new release or something, they're going to be waiting on you until it's fixed, so they can get it fixed in their applications. So this one's tricky, but it's a bit idealistic, but try to contribute on company time. So there's no single approach to this, and it'll vary by your companies and your engineering cultures. But if you can talk to, if you've got a good engineering culture, and if you can talk to your managers or your tech leads or whoever at work, and if you can make it clear to them that contributing to open source on company time, meaning upstreaming fixes, for example, instead of just monkey patching it and forgetting about it. It's not charity time. You're not just doing something for free just for the sake of it. It benefits everyone. It's going to benefit you because you don't have to maintain. You don't have the maintenance burden of that stuff. It's not going to break in the future when you upgrade your application. And it benefits everyone in the community. So it's just a good thing to do. And usually with technical people, you don't really have to convince them. But yeah, sometimes you do. And just try to make it clear to them why it's a good idea. Gem upgrades are the perfect opportunity for this. If you are responsible for upgrading your application's gems, and you run into issues like this, like it's very common when I upgrade Rails, which I do for our monolith, for me to run into a bunch of issues, and I could easily just go open an issue in Rails and say, hey, this new version, this thing's weird, this configuration doesn't actually work the way it's supposed to, and I can just sit there and wait until it's fixed. But I usually go list all of them out and go send fixes, get it merged into Rails, and then monkey patch it temporarily in our application. And yeah, make sure that when it's released, I go remove those. So if you do end up doing all or some of this, there's some benefits that come out of it. It can become a hobby. So I'm a person who's not really interested in working on side projects. I hear that I'm one of the rare ones, but I just like, doing work, doing open source stuff, and no pressure to really monetize any of the work I'm doing. You get to give back to the tools that you use daily. You get to give back to the community, and you get to learn a lot without burning out, because there's no deadlines, there's no pressure. It's just code that's there in public that you can just open up and read at any time. You get a lot of career opportunities out of this stuff. I've seen it myself. So contributions can help you find jobs at companies that value open source. BuildKite's luckily one of these companies. I usually don't have to try to prove my point at work, which is good. So I do a lot of, not just me, but most engineers at BuildKite do a lot of open source contributions on behalf of the company. You also have the potential to work at companies that pay you to work on open source full time. So think companies like Shopify. I think Gusto and GitHub still have their own Ruby and Rails infrastructure teams that basically focus on scaling Rails and Ruby to support their applications, and they get paid to work on all of these open source projects full time. So that's cool. If that's something you're interested in, this is one way to get there and get recognized for your efforts. Your public contributions become your credibility. Trust me, open source contributions on your resume or your CV or whatever, it really gives you an edge when it comes to applying for jobs, especially in the Ruby and Rails ecosystems. One thing I haven't mentioned here is maybe try to put in some effort to track in your work. One thing I do is I've got a GitHub project just in my personal account, and anytime I send a fix or something, I'll go keep track of it there. So I've now got this big project of all the stuff that I've opened and merged and whatever, and I'll just link to that usually in my resume. Or you've got if you only work on Rails, you've got that contributions website that you can just link to, which will have all of your Rails commits. Cool. And the last thing is you get to give back not just through code and by inspiring others. You get to speak at conferences like this one. You get to turn online collaborators into real-world friends. There are lots of people here, including Marco and Vipul, who have basically met online initially, and then I get to meet at conferences like this, and we get to talk about open source and all of these cool things. And you get to inspire the next generation. Again, like contributors keep all of these projects going, and we're going to need contributors for years and years to come. Ruby isn't going anywhere, Rails isn't going anywhere, and all of these projects are going to have to be supported for years to come. So we need to get more contributors, inspire more people to start contributing to open source. That's it from me. Hope you enjoyed my talk, and thank you for listening.